Hey everyone, this is Mr. Phil here. I am just beginning to start to learn a little bit about the Spike Prime kit, and I'm running the app, and it's interesting. It's very non-intuitive for a regular Windows user. It may be intuitive for a Mac user, I don't know. But like a lot of the Lego programs, it's custom built, and it doesn't seem to follow any of the normal conventions that we expect. When you start the program up, when I first installed this on my Windows 10 computer, it would not run. I click it and do nothing. I figured out that I need to run it as administrator. So that's a setting you may have to turn on to get it to run reliably, or run at all, in fact. So once it's up, it comes up with this screen here. Um, and you can be tempted to hit the start button, in which case it takes you over to this cool screen, start here, motors and sensors. And I went through some of this, and it was actually, frankly, a little confusing to me. So I decided I was going to just play, and it's going to walk you through some of this, and I'm going to experiment as we go here. Um, One of the key things is learning how to navigate the screen here. The home button up the top here takes you back to this page. Projects are down the bottom here. Anytime you create a program or open a program or do any of the samples, you start building up this list of programs, list of projects across the bottom here. It took me a while to figure out how to modify them, delete them, change the names and stuff like that, but I'll talk you through some of that. So the menu at the top here, this is the home screen. The start little rocket here takes you to the same place the start here does. Units are, I guess, learning units, and they have different things here. I haven't gone through these. I'm sure they're kind of cool, but they're an exercise for someone who wants to sort of sit down and perhaps teach some of this stuff. Building takes you to a list of cool little models that you can build with different attributes and stuff. So that's certainly something that you can go through. And then finally, my projects takes me back to my list of projects. Right now, I don't have any. This is a screen that once your project starts showing up, you can use the little edit button over here on the right to change names and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm just going to go back to the home screen here. You can actually delete this entire home screen by clicking the X, and it takes you back to this, which is really, the sort of clean start, where this takes you back to that same location, whereas this lets you start a new program. So I'm just going to do that. You can do that from here, or you can do it from new project. But I'm just going to do it from here because it's cleaner. So I'm going to do new project. And the interesting thing that pops up first here is that on the left, we have a palette of blocks we can add. And on the right is the program area. Now, sometimes this area on the left here has got all of the blocks expanded, and other times it doesn't. Nope, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I figured there must be some way to minimize all uh, these blocks that you can add, but I'm not really sure how to do it. Right clicking doesn't seem to work. I'll figure that out at some point. But some other things that we'll notice on this project page. Top left hand corner here is a little icon representing the brick. And if I take my brick here and if I plug it in, work up, and now we're green. So you can see that. I'm going to turn it this way around so you guys can see what it looks like. All right, so you notice we had the green light, which tells us that it's connected. I assume you could do the same thing with Bluetooth, although I'm using a desktop without Bluetooth, so I'm just hooking it in with the cable here. You'll notice that the button here, well, actually, that's kind of interesting. On the computer, on the camera, it looks like it's flashing, but I don't actually see it flashing, so that's interesting. It's just lit up. And the light in this top corner here is not on. This is the Bluetooth light, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So the interesting thing to note is if I grab a sensor or a motor, like here's a motor, if I plug it in, it appears up in the top corner here. So across the top here, you'll actually find all of your sensors show up. So that's really kind of nice. So this is, although this is a motor, it's actually a rotation sensor. So if I turn it, you'll see the degrees change up above, and you see it does 0 to 360. It doesn't go negative. I'm turning it down, turning it down, turning it down. And I'm not sure whether there's, I guess there's probably an actual 0 here, which would be really cool if you're building an arm or something, because if you attach it the same way each time, then you can tell it to go to a specific angle, I'm sure. So that's kind of nice for a mechanism. Likewise, this ultrasonic sensor, as I bring it up and down, you can see there's 4 centimeters, and as I bring it up, the numbers, the range changes, and how high can it go? How high can it go? That's as far as I can reach, 76 centimeters, but that's a pretty good range, actually. So that's kind of nice. So that's the first thing I noticed, so that's pretty neat. So I guess we could play with some of these blocks here. So this is based on essentially Scratch or blocks. They're sort of very similar. And you'll notice it's color coded. And on the left side here, it talks about the different categories: motors, movement, light, sound, events, control, sensors, operations, variables. And it's basically a drag and drop method. Um, just one, it's a more, I guess it's a more modern style than the typical Lego blocks. So if let me try this. I'm going to take this guy down here. I'm going to stick it here. So this yellow guy here is probably a control block. Yeah, so there's lots of different control blocks here. Actually, that's an event block. Events, when program starts. Events are things that happen at a certain point of time, and you can trigger other things to happen when that event happens. So in this case, one event is when the program starts, but you could have, when it sees colors, when it hears things, when, all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to, and then you've got control, which are like loops and if then else's and stuff like that. So when I click play here, I can probably run this program. But then what it does is once that is clicked, then it's going to take motor B. Now, right now I have plugged into B, as you can see up here. It's going to run it clockwise, probably. Yes, clockwise for 1 rotation. So let's see if I do that here. I'm going to attach something to this so you can see it work properly. So I'm just pointing it straight up and down, and then I'm going to hit the play here. Well, maybe I need to download it first. Okay, so let's go to, so you notice that this has a little 0 here. The brick can display different numbers here if I use these arrows, 0, 1. Sorry, my hand's in the way here. So right now there must only be 2 programs in here. But if I go down here, click on that, and it says download it to 0, so I'm going to do that. I guess it did it, and I'm going to come down here to this play down here. Now this is the play button down here. And oh, there we go. Let's try that again. Oh, and it went back to exactly the one place, to the same position, starting position here. I'll move this so it's more obvious. I'm going to hold it like that. Hit play. And I guess I can probably hit play over here too. Maybe. Huh. Hear the different sounds. So one is like an up sound and one is a down sound. So the up sound runs it. And I guess that's stopping the program, I guess. Although it probably stopped by itself. So let's have a look. So now if I put this one here, this is lights, and I can pick a different little funny face. I can, oh look, I can draw my own funny face. Oh yeah. Okay. Display that little man for 2 seconds. And so I download. Now I can play, I guess. There's my funny man. Cool. So pretty straightforward. What else have I got? So let's have a look at some of the things I can do here. I can run the motor for so many rotations or degrees or seconds. Go the shortest path to position. So I guess position is the angle, and it'll turn towards the angle probably. Start motor, turning. So this is just like a go in a certain direction. Stop motor, set the power of the motor. and then positions. I guess this is reading the position and reading the speed. Notice that these are a different shape. These are so that you can stick them inside another block. So movement, move forward for X centimeters, move straight. What are our options here? Oh, look, a little steering guy here. Nice. For X centimeters. I wonder how it knows which wheels to use. That's kind of interesting. Start moving straight, stop moving, set movement speed, set movement mode. Oh, here we go, set movement mode is to AB. So we probably have to do that first before we do any driving. Let's try that, shall we? Okay, I'm going to unplug this. Get another motor. Let's go with A and B. Let's put something on here so we can see them turn. All right, so get rid of this. Probably drop it over here to get rid of it. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to set movement motors to be A and B. A and B. Yep. And then I'm going to move forward for 10 centimeters. And then I'm going to, probably it'll stop anyway. We're going to put a stop here. All right. So let's have a look here. Oopsie. Download. And then run. All right. So I'm going to have these. I bet you I can set these to start at 0. Let me have a look here. Sound, events, control, sensors, operations. It's shaking. Oh, look. Oh, this. Oh, that's kind of cool. This must have a gyro. Oh, it does have a gyro. It has a inertial measurement unit. So it can actually tell up and down and shaking and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. So this has got its own gyro built into it, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so let's have a look. So I wanted to reset the counters. Let's try this. I'm going to take my position, shortest path to 0. So what I want to do is I want to set, oh, that's nice. Oh, I can do all. I don't want to do all. I want to set both my motors to 0 to see where the 0 position is, and then I'm going to wait. So that's probably in controls down here. Wait X seconds, 2 seconds maybe. And then we'll set the movement. So we'll download. What that option? Next storage position. Okay, download. Oh, okay. So now I'm there. So now I'm going to play this. See what happens. So what I discovered there was that this one is not in the right position. So now I'll do that again. So see, now they're lined up and they ran. All right. I can go inches, rotations, 10 rotations. That's kind of cool. Let's do that again. Okay, so what was interesting there was that I didn't download it. I just hit play and it downloaded it first and then it played it. What's also interesting is that it was highlighting this block up here, yellow, and I bet you it's showing me what it's doing as each step. But anyway, I also didn't notice these changing, but I bet they were changing. I'm going to do this again. Yep, so we've got all these numbers changing here. All right, so I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to change this to inches. I'm going to go down here and say, put this in program number 1. So in theory, when I run this, the number 1 should show up, I guess. Oh, there we go. All right, that was the 2 seconds it was messing with my brain. Do one more time. It's interesting that when I ran that, one motor ran and then the other motor ran, because first it's taking this to position 0 and then this one took this one to position 0. I bet you if I make this all or multiple, so now I can tell it to do it both. I bet you they'll both do it at once now. Probably need to turn them a little bit so that they have somewhere to go. Let's see if they move together. Look at that. So we can get simultaneous actions happening with this multiple thing here. Oh, so I can do multiple. So let's have a look. Oh yeah, keep building that bigger. Interesting, this picture also shows me the motors that are plugged in. There's a different motor, there's a third motor, this big thing here. What happens when I plug him in? Oh yeah, in this picture, just notice that he lit up there. It's pretty cool. All right, so I'm getting the hang of this now. So right now this is project 1. So if I exit out of here and go home, you'll see it. My project 1 is there. It's a bit of a boring name. If I want to go back and modify it, I just click on it and it brings it back again. But if I go up to my projects and then click on this little guy here, edit projects, you'll notice choices come down here, and one of those is select all. But now each one of these little boxes here has a little circle on it, and I can select it, and then I can, select an option, either delete it, duplicate it, or rename it. So there we go. Test 1. All right, cool. Well, that was my first program. Go back home, test 1, and it tells you how long ago you did it. All right, Phil here. I just had my first little programming experience with the Spike Prime module, and I really kind of like it. And I thought, well, how can I demonstrate sensors and actuators and stuff like that? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the ultrasonic sensor. Here it is here. I'm going to plug it in, pick a port, any port. And I have a motor here. I don't know if it's in its 0 position. There must be some way to tell if it's in its 0 position. Oh, interesting. So there's, I don't know if you can see it here, there's a little mark, 0. And there's also a mark on the little rotating blue part. So I bet you when they're together, it's 0. I guess we'll figure that out in a second. All right. So I'm going to start a new project. New project. And what I'm going to do is I want the motor to turn to the angle based on the distance that the ultrasonic sensor is reading. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need to have it do it over and over and over again. So I'm going to get a repeat forever loop, stick it in there. And then I'm going to need to read the distance. So I'm going to go to sensors, color, button pressed, distance in centimeters or inches. Okay, so I'm going to keep him. I'm going to need him in a minute. So these round ones go inside other blocks where they normally would have a number. So if we have a motor position, go to position, shortest path to position. Instead of putting a number in here for 0, I can actually stick this in here like that. And what's my motor? So if I go here, it'll show me where my motors are. So there's my motor. So it knew B, which is kind of smart. It gave me those choices for B over here. That's pretty clever. And the sensor port it knew as well, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? It knew that the ultrasonic sensor was on E. Oh, that's so cool. I just moved it. So now I have to manually move it. That's really cool. All right, so what should happen is that when I run this, the motor should change its position based on the sensor. let's put this in program number 2. All right. So now we're on program number 2. I don't think we're running yet. No. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to play. Are we running? Are we running? Are we running? I don't see any action here. Well, that's kind of bad. What's going on? I would expect it to show me the number 2 here as well. So I don't know what the little flashing red light is. Oh, did I tell it? See, that's good. Shortest part. Oh, in percent. Centimeters. Try that. You can see the centimeter reading changing up above, but it's not moving the motor. Interesting. Okay, what's going on? Okay, so if I just take this out and put in a number in here, like there. Oh, 90 degrees. That's really cool the way it lets me just spin that dial around. And I run this. See, that worked. Stop it. Put it back to 0. Download it and run it. Okay. Oh, that was interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. Can you hear that? It's fighting me. So it's and not only is it fighting me, but it's making minor adjustments based on. Interesting. Reasonable amount of slop in there. It's not like it's a really precision mechanism, but it's definitely going to the angle. So the real question is, why isn't it going to the sensor position? Well, let's do this. Let's change this up a little bit. Let's stop this here. Oh, this plays sounds. Play cat meow. Oh boy. Let's try this. That came out of the computer speakers and not the break, unfortunately. Oh well, not to worry. Can't have everything. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the sensor and put it in a variable. So here, so I'm going to create myself a variable, make a variable, and I'm going to call it angle. Okay, so now I have a variable called angle. Oh, look, it's showing it to me over here. That's kind of cool. And what I'm going to do is, there's a block here for setting the variables, and it knows that that's my only one. Okay, and I'm going to set this to the distance in centimeters. So if I run this now, see, look, the angle up here is changing as I move my sensor. All right, so now instead of going to 360, I'm going to go to the value of angle. So I can take angle from over here, drop it in here, and try running this. Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. So when it gets too close, it can't get a good reading. Interesting. Not sure why it's doing that. Oh, I think I saw the centimeters jump up to like 200 or something. Oh yeah, so it's getting a funny reading when it gets too close. All right, so that's interesting that oh, craziness. It's interesting that it'll let me do this, put it into an angle variable and then display the variable, but it won't let me display it directly. Oh, now it is. Isn't that interesting? And for example, you could, I'm going to put it back into the variable here, and I'm going to angle here. You could say, well, I want it to move more than it is currently moving, so that's fine. I can do a little bit of math here. I can take here. I can do it in several steps here. First, it sets angle to the distance, and then it could set angle to angle. Oh, didn't want to do that. Angle multiplied by 4. So it's going to take the distance in centimeters, multiply it by 4, and then put it into the motor position. So the one thing you do notice is that the blue command, blue move motor, takes a certain amount of time to execute. It doesn't return until it's actually got to that position, it seems like, because the actual position is updating much slower than the sensor value is updating on the top of the screen. Interesting. Cool. All right. Not bad little display. I'm interesting. I saw gesture here. What is gesture? Gesture. You can sense different gestures. I don't know what that means. Huh. Orientation. Makes sense to me. Gesture, don't know. Timer. Reset timer. Pressure. Oh, yeah, I guess that's another thing. What are these? Oh, here we go. Oh, I didn't realize that. I saw this sensor, and I thought it was just a touch sensor because it looks like a touch sensor. But I guess it must measure the pressure that you're pressing with, which is pretty cool. So this is plugging into E. Oh, look at that. If you look up here, you can see the pressure. I guess that's newtons. And right now it's just on, it's not doing anything exciting, but as I push it more, 0 to 9. Oh, 10. I get 10 all the way if I push it all the way in. That's pretty cool. I wonder if it's the first part, the first little click here is just a touch sensor. Is pressed. Yes, so actually, so here's a thing you can do. Let's talk about some events here. So one of these things is when program starts. One of the other events here was probably if pressed. Yes, when pressed. And you notice it's giving me E as the choice for pressed because it knows that this is what it's plugged into. And so when it's pressed, I can do sound or lights. Play beep. Oh, okay. All right, try that. Sorry. It's interesting too that this one is yellow now because the program has started its running. This one is not yellow, but when I push the button, it lights up yellow while it's doing its action. So when it's pressed and then it's finished, so it goes away. So it's not running anymore, which is pretty cool. So if I made this play this for 4 seconds, press the button. Oh, I didn't download it. Oh. Cool. I wonder what this is. Oh, it's a note. That's annoying. Go back to short one here. Cool. Well, that's a pretty neat little button. So what am we left with this one? So what is this? Oh, this is a color sensor. There we go. Oh, it showed me what color it's saying. No color. Yeah, let's have a look. Oh yeah, definitely red. Yellow. Blue. Man, that's really good. What else we got here? Green. Black. Better get white as well while we're at it. Oh, straight down. White. There we go. That's pretty cool. So you can use that as a trigger as well. Like it says like on when color is so and so. So if I take one of these down here, take this guy here, and then play a different song. What can I play? Lights up. What lights up? Oh, I don't know. Can I light this thing up? I don't know. Because it says C, which is this guy here. And the color is red, it lights that up. Let's try that. And, oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. All right, so watch out. So when I put this red in front of here, and it sees it up here, sees it there, then it lights up the eyes. Here it comes. Bam. That's pretty cool. All right, already I'm seeing lots of good opportunities here for things we can do. All right, that's it for now. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, press and hold this and it'll go down and go off. Thank you.